Let's talk about your copywriting around search engine optimization. Hey, this is Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. A lot of folks talk about keyword research as a means of developing content for marketing. So this is content of articles, white papers, other materials that are written to generate leads. Now, when they talk about keyword research, they very often talk in very generic terms because most people don't understand keywords. They'll talk about long tail, they'll talk about popular keywords, they'll talk about keyword momentum, trending, those types of things. I'm going to argue that none of that matters. I have a background in psychology and business analytics. So we look at language use, intent of language use. We look at how people communicate. And I also look at how people research and find information. Now, the main premise of content marketing is to write materials that help people find answers. Now, if you give them too many answers up front, they may not buy your product. If you give them not enough answers, they may get educated enough to ask better questions and then go buy someone else's product. Ultimately, when you're working with a client and they want more traffic to their website, content is a way to do it. However, good old-fashioned direct response works just as well and can be worked much faster. But imagine if you could combine the two. Imagine if you could use internet search in order to generate visitors, leads, or actions that help you zero in on a highly profitable customer base that you may not have looked at otherwise. So your customers can create content every day. It's so easy to create content. They can do videos, they can do social media, they can do articles. But if they want results, they need to work with a copywriter who understands how to convert interest into behavior and behavior into purchases. And that's where you come in. So don't fall to the trap of keyword research. You do care what keywords someone is using to find your customers' websites. And yes, writing articles around those keywords would be useful, but it doesn't convert interest behavior into buying behavior. You have to tie in the analytics to know which keywords convert to valuable customers. Because just because a keyword generates leads doesn't mean it's actually worth a damn anywhere else. Just because the keyword has search traffic doesn't mean it's useful anywhere else. Let's get back to the text analytics. There's a program called R, and it can be used to scan text and tell you the sentiment of the text. It can tell you different intentions of the text. It's pretty interesting stuff. And I'm suspecting that as artificial intelligence becomes more accessible, and it's already available in Google, it's already available in the big search engines, that they aren't going to be looking for just the keywords that someone types. They're going to be looking for the entire context of the conversation that user is having when asking the search engine questions. Now, this is very, very important, and it's a little bit more complex than most people think about when they're writing content for a customer doing search engine optimization. And the worst part of this is that your customer isn't likely to understand these concepts. So we've got to frame these concepts in a way that the customer will easily understand it. So let me share a brief story. You walk into a hardware store and you're looking for a hammer. And the person who is there takes you straight to the aisle and shows you hammers. You're able to now buy a hammer. Now, when you came into that store, were you really looking for a hammer, or were you looking for something more specific? Now, here's the argument. You come into the store, you're looking for a hammer, and your ultimate objective was to hang a picture. Well, you may need more than a hammer to hang the picture. If the outcome is to hang a picture, you may need a picture frame a wire so that you can restore the wire on the back of the picture. You may not need a large hammer for it. You don't need a sledgehammer to hang a picture, but you don't necessarily need a carpentry hammer to hang a picture. You may just want to hang a picture with a small little tap-in hammer because you're tapping in little tiny nails. And so the buyer of the hammer for the hanging of a picture is a significantly different buyer than someone who needs a hammer to smash up an old sidewalk, or a hammer to crush stones and rocks that they want to use in a small garden area. And so if someone comes in the store and says, I need a hammer, and all you do is take them to the row that has hammers, assorted hammers, you're not really serving the long-term needs of that customer. So understanding the intent and the desired outcome of that customer interaction, why did they visit the website? What were they looking for, and how are they going to use what they looked for? That goes beyond keywords. Now, keywords can ultimately be used in the testing model because you can buy keywords, but you can also buy lists of customers and survey them to get better context about the potential keywords they may use, so the language that they might use to ask for that hammer, and also the language that they use about that solution. What will life be like when they have the hammer that's most ideally suited for their needs? Now, in a one-to-one situation, that salesperson has the opportunity to look the person over. If a little old lady comes in and is looking for a hammer, and they ask a few simple questions like, how would you like to use your hammer? How frequently would you use your hammer? What types of tasks can you see yourself using this hammer for? They get the context of the little old lady. They're not going to give her a 20-pound sledgehammer. They also get the context of her responses to the questions. She wants to use the hammer to smash bugs. And she doesn't need a big hammer to do it because these are tiny bugs. And what she sees happening is all the bugs are smashed. Well, you might hear in that conversation the outcome is to smash bugs, but, could a fly swatter do that? You could offer an alternative solution. And see, the problem with just that keyword research about that volume is you don't know that those people that search at that volume are looking for a solution that you can offer, or could be better served with another product line. Maybe there's a gimmick hammer that is good for this little old lady to smash bugs because it's a weird request. You might only get one of them, but you've got this little gimmick hammer anyway, and you ought to be able to sell it. You don't want to give her a carpentry hammer because if she's smashing bugs with that, she could break a glass table. Ultimately, what we're doing here is by building the context around the use of the product, we're developing narratives and stories that feed the content, but ultimately create something that generates a lead. Because once you've got the lead, you can ask them more questions. Once they've crossed the threshold into your store, you can now start that relationship and conversation. You can start narrowing down focus. Now, there's huge value in just buying a marketing list. Now, you can go and do audience matching with that market list. You can direct mail the market list. You can do targeted pay-per-click campaigns. You can drive them to the website to narrow down that list by using an audience match on just the visit of the website. You can drive them to an offer and use an audience match on just those who develop leads. But when your customer or client comes to you and asks about search engine optimization, they aren't thinking about all that stuff. They have no idea it exists. They have no concept that the context of the conversation would depend on whether that customer is going into a hardware store or going into a Walmart looking for a hammer. Now, let's say somebody's looking for a suit, and they're looking for a suit for a special event that they're going to wear one time. That's a different interaction than if they're looking for a suit for everyday wear at work. Now, you can write an article that helps. It's the consumer guide to buying suits that you only wear once. And you can write another article, the consumer guide to buying suits you're going to wear every day. These are great things to do, but if your customer thinks they're just selling suits, rather than connecting customers with problems with the solutions they can offer, they may have you write just simply the consumer guide to selecting a suit. And now the content is too broad. Now the search engine doesn't do that contextual match anymore. And rather than having two assignments, you end up with one very generic assignment that doesn't get any results. And as a copywriter, business development professional, and marketer, you know that slaving over a campaign that doesn't get any results doesn't get you called back. So it's very important now to walk away what the common folks do. Ad Briefings is all about unique and well-rationed approaches to getting outcomes. And if your outcome for that client is generating leads, if your outcome for that client is producing sales, just generic content marketing is not going to do it. looking at a big giant list of keywords and picking out the ones that have the most traffic doesn't really tell you anything other than how to get more traffic. If once that traffic's on the website, they don't become leads because there's no lead generation mechanism. There's no sifting or sorting or using the data that's there to segment that list to zero in on who can purchase. Then your customer is going to get frustrated over time because you're going to be doing a lot of copywriting for them, which may get you paid today, but they're not going to get any results, which means you don't get paid tomorrow. So if you want maximum results for your client, it's not about search engine optimization. It's about optimization of the communications to speak with those buyers that are most likely to take action today. And we take those buyers through a cycle where those most ready to buy today get the opportunity to purchase. Those who may buy in the near future get the opportunity to get additional information. And then those who may not buy in the next year or so get onto some kind of drip campaign. So we're sifting and sorting those individuals. And by the way, too many people who want search engine optimization ignore those people who are ready to buy right now. These people want to buy today, and what are you doing? You're feeding them a bunch of content. You're feeding them a bunch of stuff that they already know or they have an idea because they've done a bunch of research on your competitive sites. When now they are ready to purchase, and if you dropped in there with the right message, you could convert those folks into buyers right away. How valuable is that for your customers to be stoked that the context of their website converts buyers? It generates leads, it converts buyers. Now, let me give you 3 really quick steps on how to do keyword research. And we go into this a lot more detail in our topic testing methods, where we actually determine what text, content, topics generate sales. And we also, through that, have a little bit of keyword extraction. But when you're doing your keyword research, you use your 2 word phrases in order to generate an idea of what the volume is. The next, you produce longer phrases that ask questions that your target audience wants to answer. And number 3 is you go out and find a mailing list. You go out and find a list somewhere, you get the customer's house file, and you start asking those questions in the form of surveys. The response of those surveys will give you more context about what kind of concepts and topics are of value to the audience, and you'll also be tracking the actions, leads, and conversion associated with these types of keywords. What this allows you to do is write less copy and get more sales. What it also allows you to do is deliver to your customer a better value package. So instead of writing 12 newsletter articles, you're actually making sure that those newsletter articles will create the behavior that is necessary. Now, you can add this analysis stuff as part of your, going into your assignment. So when you do your initial interview with the client, you can ask them questions like, well, what do you know about your keyword conversion? So you're not asking them about what keywords get traffic to their site. You're asking about which keywords convert. What types of landing pages are creating leads? Which types of people become customers? Now you can start building out that audience, and then from that audience, you can use the traffic volumes to get an idea. But again, traffic volumes on individual keywords don't give you any details about who is doing the search. But you can narrow the scope of what kinds of keywords you're going to test with a specific audience, and then start creating, you could do targeted pay-per-click campaigns, you could do surveys, quizzes, you can do articles that are sent by email to a house list, and then based on the value and conversion on your house list, those emails could be expanded into special reports and guides that are used in lead generation, or front-end content to set up a lead generation event. I actually do have a complete program on content marketing that I share with my private clients, because it does go into concepts that are very contrarian to the outside world. But then again, I'm not looking at what keywords are popular. I'm not looking at gaming a search engine for its today's algorithm. I'm looking for an interaction or establishing a connection with a actual buyer, and what is it that they're thinking about? What are their concerns? What are their frustrations? And then in that context, how do we set them up to raise their hand and say, yes, I'm interested in more information? And then from that more information, yes, I'm interested in solving this problem and I'm willing to invest in a solution. Folks, that's what it really is about. Stop looking at keywords as just a basic magic thing. It's too shallow. It doesn't really tell you anything. And start looking at the human behavior and solidify that with mathematics, which tells you which type of keywords and concepts are creating customers. And through those concepts, through those topics, through that conversation that's already in the buyer's head, don't miss out the opportunity to generate a buyer on first visit. And don't miss out the opportunity to get people to come back through lead generation. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefing's Copywriting Tips. If you have any questions about this or anything else, we've just been talking about the real way of doing keyword research. And I hope I've helped you understand that when you're working for clients, you need to go a little bit further, because there's thousands of people out there that can just write 10 articles for an email thread, and they'll write them and the customer thinks they've gotten something, but they're going to be ultimately disappointed. They're going to be disappointed because search engines, humans, and those searching for answers are constantly adjusting their behavior. And if you're focused on that behavior and transforming a visitor into a lead or a visitor into a buyer, you'll be more likely to create content that is of value to your clients. That means more income for you. It means more loyal customers. It means you become their secret weapon because you understand more than just the keyword. Thanks for listening. Again, I'm Justin Hitt. You can ask your questions at www.adbriefings.co.uk. Thanks for listening.